Hello and welcome to France's 5-minute feature. So I usually do this at the London user groups, and basically I talk about a feature or functionality that people may or may not be using in Salesforce, and then they can go ahead and start using it or not, as the case may be. This month I did one on org reviews, so a little bit different than just us focusing on one specific feature. And it's got more of an admin focus, so I've just kind of pulled out some of the things that I do when I do an org review and some of the tools that I use that may be helpful for people. So my name is Francis Pinder. I'm a Salesforce MVP and Solutions Architect working as a freelancer in London, and also co-organizer of the admin, developer and business user groups in London. Okay, so org reviews, what do I actually do? So first thing I do when I'm reviewing an org is look at the security, because it's usually the one thing that I want to focus on first because it's potentially got the biggest impact. So have a look at the organizational wide security settings, so password policies, session security, things like that, which can all be found in your setup menu. But one of the other things I kind of look at are the profile permissions. So this is what I'm going to focus on now. So profile, who are your administrators? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, but really what is an administrator to you? Salesforce considers an administrator as anybody who has essentially modified all access to the Salesforce org, which essentially allows them to edit and create record, modify any record within the system. But your administrator to you may be something slightly different. It could be that an administrator can only export data from Salesforce or connect to other external applications, can view the setup menu, or has a setting to say password never expires. But people over time, profiles, settings get changed and tweaked and fiddled, and really at the end of the day, you have no idea what the settings are. So there's a great tool created by Salesforce called the Perm Comparator, which is a free application. You just go to this URL, you log into your org, and then you can basically drag and drop your profiles, permission sets, or even users, and compare up to 4 users, profiles, or permission sets together to compare what profiles have got what security settings, either object permissions or just general user permissions. So here I'm comparing the test site profile and my standard user profile. And you can see here my test site profile, all it's got access to is view all users and allow universal search. But my standard user profile has got API enabled, it can export reports, it can use chatter, it can run mass emailing, which again could be quite a high level permissions which you want to kind of not give to all your users. You can compare and review. But if you want to go into a bit more detail or be able to run reports and stuff with your profiles, there's a great little app tool called Dream Factory Snapshot, and you can do different comparisons like fields versus page layouts, profiles versus page layouts, and also export those as reports so you can kind of document your org as well. But it is a paid-for app, whereas the other app is free. A little while ago, I talked about security in the org and fundamental kind of organization-wide default permissions and things like this. But one of the things I did touch on was roles. And for those who don't know what a role is, basically a role you assign to a user. And essentially, if I had a role of sales team B, that group right at the bottom, anybody assigned to the role higher up in the role hierarchy basically has access to my records. Now, the left-hand side is a kind of visual representation of what it looks like in Salesforce on the right-hand side. But if you edit a role, you actually have extra configuration on it. So here is the sales call center rep details, and you can see here it says opportunity access in case access. Now, the radio button set for the opportunity access says users in this role can edit all opportunities associated with accounts that they own, regardless of who owns the opportunities. So essentially, if you generally, if I own this specific record, then only that record and can be seen by everybody up in the role hierarchy. But if you set this option, the users can of this role can edit all opportunities associated with the accounts that they own, regardless of who owns the opportunities, you're basically opening up that account owner to all the opportunities, access to all the opportunities on that account, which, depending on what your security rules are, is maybe something you don't want. And if you've basically got sharing rules on those opportunities, say only certain people can see these opportunities and those opportunities, essentially the role is going to override all that, because you set, hey, the account owner can see all of them regardless. So what I find is when I do a review is a lot of these roles could be, switched off so that you don't have this kind of effect happening. And then you get the odd one or two that somebody's accidentally switched this feature on. So good thing is just to review it and check if it is supposed to be on or off, so you don't get tripped up. Okay, next thing, run all unit tests, another thing I do. So unit tests are tests that developers have created to test their development. Now, if you put validation rules or workflow rules in, potentially this could break the developer's code. And the unit tests allow you to test to see if what you're putting in has broken their code. Now, it's a real pain for developers as well, because if you've added somebody's added validation rules or something that's broken these unit tests, when you want to come in and do more development in the org, so you get a developer in to do some development, the developer has to fix the unit test before he can actually start working sometimes. So it's always good to just dive into Apex test execution, run all the tests in there, and see if anything breaks. And the more red crosses you get, the worse it is, basically. But it gives you an indication anyway. Also, I put a link to the Salesforce security scanner. This is a tool where you can basically log into your org or give your username of your org, and it sends you a PDF report of after doing a review of all the code in your org. Generally, yeah, all the code, and it comes to try and find spots any mistakes or security issues in the code. Now, sometimes you get false positives, so don't rely on it completely, but again, gives you a good indication of what the quality of your code is. And also critical updates. You know that box that pops up that says, hey, you've got critical updates, you need to review them? Review them. Because basically these are things that Salesforce have identified in your org that they're going to be changing at some point, which could break your code or your functionality. So review them. Now, if it is technical, get a developer to review it, because potentially things could break, because Salesforce is just going to auto-activate that functionality, and you need to activate it before, just to check. Because if you do activate that critical update, you can always deactivate it if it's before the auto-activation date. So you can switch it on, see if anything breaks, and switch it off if something has broken. Okay, other things I check is licenses. Do you have any users that haven't logged in for ages? Create a report, have a look. It could be users that you can kind of get back. Are there users that should be inactive? Yeah, can you use cheaper licenses? Are there users that actually don't use the org as much and you want to swap them to force.com licenses, which is always good. Also look at file and data storage. Salesforce has now got external objects, which could potentially allow you to archive your records off and then view them still in Salesforce. Also, if you're running out of file storage, there's a load of Salesforce apps on the App Exchange that you could use to kind of store files off-site or out Salesforce. Another app I use is Optus. It's a great little app to document your org. It's a free app, and basically you can select all the things you want to report on and export them to Word or PDF. The one thing it doesn't seem to do is standard objects, which is a bit weird, but apart from that, it's pretty good. And again, it's free. Reports and dashboards. Yes, run a report on your reports to see when people last used them. If they haven't used them for ages, then just delete them. Or what I usually do is I move them into a folder where they don't have access, and if they scream, I put them back. Otherwise, I delete them again after a little while. But if it hasn't been run for a while, then it's probably not being used. Other things I check is unused apps, so apps that have been installed long ago but just not being used. Also workflows, validation rules that are now inactive, but so are not running in the org. If they're inactive and have been inactive for the last 3 years, just delete them because they probably don't even work now anyway. And you can always back them up into a Word document if there's a specific complicated formula you want to remember. Also, old page layouts, record types that are just not being used. Another great app is a free app called Field Trip, which can review the usage of your fields. So it can say, like in the example there, postcode is only being used by 3.2% of all the records in your org. So it's not really using. So do you want to put some kind of validations or something around it to get it more used? But just watch out, it may be a new field that's just come in, so it may be low on the population of the records anyway. And that's about it. If you want to read more or find out, I'll be doing these hopefully once a month now videos. Check out www.radnit.com. Thanks a lot. See ya.